we are back with Dr. Tony Sewell. Tony, I want to go into the chat room for a second. I see some questions there. Deb asks,
Okay.
how do you get funding?
Well, let me talk about the funding that I've just secured for the Shakespeare Schools Championship, which is what I'm running in Jamaica at the moment, and probably I want to come and invade Guyana over there.
Well,
You know, that would be
why don't you tell us about the program first, the Soul Shakespeare?
All right. How that works is, I mean, sometimes I just get up in the morning and I think of an idea, and I kind of know it's going to run, and this one ran almost a year ago, and I'm speaking to you from Jamaica now, where I am, although I'm going back to London soon. And one of the things about, I mean, I don't want to be too specific about Jamaica, because I think it can run across the whole of the Caribbean as well, Guyana and Trinidad and Barbados. But the Jamaican accent itself is a very kind of lyrical one. And when I read Shakespeare, I always felt, and there was a poet, a number of Jamaican poets that I used to sort of listen to, and it was really the way in which they would place their accent and the sort of resonance around poetry, particularly when reading King James Version Bible. That was another one, and if you hear preachers speaking that, it has a lyricism in it. So I thought, well, wait a minute, next year is the 400th anniversary of the death of William Shakespeare, and in England we're going to have lots of celebrations for that. So I kind of then spoke to my connections. Remember, I'm all about opportunity and need. And that was in the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Globe Theatre, where Shakespeare had his hangout in London. And I persuaded them to sort of say, well, okay, you're doing Shakespeare. We need to. They always conscious about diversity. What about inviting a group of students from Jamaica to come over, and we will deliver the Shakespeare plays to you in a Jamaican context, and these will be school children doing that. So what we came across was 30-minute plays, and they keep the same Shakespeare language, except the contexts are different. They're set in Jamaica, historic or modern, and so we then went back to Jamaica and you have to, in this society, you have to work with what they've got. That's, remember I said to you before, that's what you do. So what they're good at, as you know, is school-based competitions. And so we use that model to have the Shakespeare Schools Championship. And now we've got the semi-finals now. We've eliminated lots of schools out of this, and we've got the 7 schools left in the final. And the plays are I mean, when I say this is the best thing we've ever done, really, I think, even as good as Generating Genius. And it's showing that Shakespeare is relevant, is universal. And actually, in the end, as I keep saying to the Jamaicans here, that probably Shakespeare was maybe a Jamaican, or maybe he was Guyanese. And that's how it's working here, and we're doing that project. Now, the funding was not difficult. And I'll tell you why, because I picked on Jamaica National Building Society only because they have an interest in the UK through remittances. And also, obviously, they're also about trying to get Jamaicans to feel and be engaged in a wider context culturally. So it just made a lot of sense to go to them. And then they didn't even think about it. They just gave us the funding. So that's how that's working.
How did you identify the schools?
Well, we put out, it wasn't that difficult because, Jamaican schools do drama is quite a big thing here. And we just put it out initially to a number of schools across the island, and we got them to apply. There was a criteria that they had to have a history of putting on performance in the past, and also have an existing drama teacher or a literature teacher who had an interest. And that's how we chose the schools, and they came forward. not everybody was going to do this because it was going to be hard to do Shakespeare with these students because they've never done it before. However, all the drama teachers to me are shocked at how well, these kids are the Usain Bolt of Shakespeare. I'm telling you, they're the Bob Marley of Shakespeare. You cannot believe when you see them recite aspects of Shakespeare, Macbeth, or in Hamlet, or Taming of the Shrew, and it's done sitting on a Jamaican accent.
What surprised you? What surprised you about the process?
Like sorry.
What surprised you about the process? What surprised you about what?
What surprised? I don't think it surprised me because it was the vision really that was there already. I suppose the bit of it was just the speed in which the children learnt the lines and were able to deliver in such a professional manner. Without dropping any of the lines.
And why do you think?
In other words, simply Shakespeare was natural to them.
Wow.
And that was the thing. It was as if they were just talking the thing. And if you're going to think about it, Jamaicans actually, in the end, do lots of Shakespeare things anyway. They talk to themselves a lot, which is soliloquies. They actually do. Shakespeare has a lot of mix-up business, they call it here, where people dress up and they confuse and they're not sure who's who and what's going on. A lot of business going on, and in that sense, that goes on in the society. Dare I say, there's also a lot of murder as well. Not as much because the murder rate is going down in Jamaica. Actually, you Guyanese are actually running us head to head on that.
You know what?
I think you're trying to overtake the Jamaicans. And then there's the language issue. Now, the way in which the lyricism Shakespeare writes those plays in de dum, the kind of iambic pentameter, and the Jamaican accent is a rhythmic one, and so it goes alongside. I mean, I would describe it simply like syrup sitting on ice, running over ice, and it gets into that, and it's a nice drink, and it's very sweet as well when you taste it.
Where are you hoping to take this eventually, Tony?
To London. The prize is the winning school gets an all-expenses trip next year to London to perform at the top theatres in London, and we'll work with some schools.
Can the rest of the Caribbean, including Guyana, expect this?
Yeah, look, the deal is simple. The Caribbean has seen me here now. This is my kind of advert. Barbados, we love you. Trinidad, Guyana, St. Lucia, all of you. Now it's up to you to come to us and say, if you want the same experience, we can come and give it to you. You got to pay up, but we'll come. You're
gonna give us that website.
It would be well within your GDP to bring us to you. And what you'll get is a fantastic kind of experience of students really beginning to improve in their English. And it's not only that, their confidence, their whole wider skill set, because to be able to sustain a Shakespeare play, not everybody can do this. This is not, this is genius now. That's where we're into now. We're into, because you got to understand what's going on here. The Jamaican kids have not only had to put on a good play, they've had to reinterpret the Shakespeare in a Jamaican context. They're doing lots of things at the same time, and also, engaging the audience and understanding and bringing new meaning to the plays. I must admit,
Tony, you have told us why you thought it was going to work, the whole similarity in the rhythm of the language, Jamaican language and Shakespeare, the type of drama that exists in the society and all these kinds of stuff. But you shifted a little bit, I believe, from science to literature or language. Why?
No, because I was always about. Let me just roll this back again. When we brought we started generating genius by bringing 10 boys from the UK to Jamaica, and I remember when we arrived, people were wondering. I mean, people said to me on the plane, things, "Are you a football team? Are you a basketball team?" Because they saw a group of black boys arriving in Jamaica as wearing these T-shirts. They all had the same T-shirt. So they didn't say, now look, if the group was from China or from Japan, they would probably think they were scientists.
Right.
But if they're a group of black boys from London, they thought, oh well. So when we said no, we've come to Jamaica to do science. We've actually come to do intellectual activity, rigorous activity in labs. And these are only 11-year-olds, and they're going to be at the University of the West Indies, and they're going to be doing high-level work on science. They're not just going to be lazing around on a beach somewhere. They're up there actually going to be, because that's what they want to do in the future. So it's what I call counterintuitive. So, for example, Shakespeare is similar. When the vision came to me on the hill about doing this. It was always going to be in the mode of what was counterintuitive. Now, Shakespeare has been captured by a middle class elite. So what is it if you're in Papine, which is a high school near where we work, and you go home to some zinc fence story, and what we're hearing at the night time is you reciting Hamlet. That's what you're doing, and you're hearing all the kind of gunshots and the contested issues in that place. But you, irrespective of that, you are going to be a great exponent of Shakespeare. That's counterintuitive. People don't put together Jamaica and Shakespeare together. The two things. You saying Bob Marley, Shakespeare and Jamaica, where's that going? And so therefore, we go where no man goes, and we go. That's the place where we go. Yeah.
Tony, I see Lance made a comment in the chat room, and this comment might have come when you had said something a little while back, so I don't want to lose it. And Lance's comment or questions, what and invade who? Do you remember in what context Lance might have asked you this question?
Say that again.
He said what and invade who? So I'm going to ask Lance to clarify a little bit.
Yeah.
You might have said something about invading somewhere.
Oh, Guyana, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Well, as long as he's in charge of the commerce, Chamber of Commerce, he's the money man.
Yes.
So as long as he can fund it, then we'll come. But look, these issues. Look, the issues are here. Is that you have to keep looking at. For example, Shakespeare in England, for me, as it lines up with all the big icons, the Queen, Shakespeare, the big kind of establishment things. And really what's happened is that poor people don't get looking at that. And I think that Shakespeare never wrote those plays for an elite audience. He wrote those for poor people, for ordinary people. And it got hijacked by the elite. So we're just taking back what's ours. That's why I'm saying I call Shakespeare a Caribbean man or Jamaican, because he is so close to what